need to worry about that. Or them.
I've actually been working on project for the past few years. I decided to compete in Miss Asian Global because I'm actually just started my pageant coaching business recently. And I feel like Miss Asian Global is a really great way to network with other people and meet new friends and really be able to experience what other people have to offer and what I can learn from them to be a better coach in the future.
Name is
Emily,
Emily.
yes.
Tell me, Emily, what is the greatest challenge facing your generation?
I would say the greatest challenge facing our generation is that we can never be present. I think it's because, now we're remote, we're on our phones all the time, we're on Zoom all the time. So it's a lot harder for us to really be living in the moment. And I guess my biggest piece of advice for my generation is to really go out there with your friends and experience the world. I feel like I've learned so much from traveling. My favorite place to travel is back in my hometown, Japan. So really to get out into the world and experience real life things with your friends and be more present.
How would you use your title around help the community?
Yeah, so my platform is about women in filmmaking, and I would really love to mentor young women in filmmaking, specifically women of color. So I currently work with the Hawaii Women in Filmmaking to instruct young women on how to create films. So I do it from A to Z when it comes to actually scripting the story to when it comes to editing the film itself. So I would definitely like to continue this by helping young women in San Francisco and all over the world nationally with learning how to create filmmaking and really instilling that confidence in young women to be able to create those amazing films and get their voices heard in mainstream media. Yes.
Are you considered a leader or a follower? And tell us why.
Up until recently, I always consider myself a follower, but I actually had this really eye-opening conversation with Vincent yesterday in the car. And he was talking about how one of the other contestants, Amy, would always talk about me. And he asked me the question, do you realize like how influential that you are? And in that moment, I kind of thought back in my life and thought about how many, young women did tell me that they looked up to me, whether that be through pageantry or filmmaking. So it really opened my eyes up to, yes, I am a leader and I know how to take charge and be powerful.
Thank you for being here this afternoon. You mentioned that you want to mentor. I'm wondering about a key mentor in your life and what you learned from that person.
Yeah. So growing up, I had a lot of trouble with school. I immigrated to America from Japan at a very young age. I was about 9 years old, and I had a lot of trouble with my schoolwork. I was a straight B student, and I also had a lot of trouble socially. So my mentor, Tina, my mom hired her to be able to help me with my schoolwork, but not only did she help get my grades up, she taught me how to manage my time better and how to be a more confident young lady. So I really thank Tina for building that confidence in me, because now not only can I take that through my schooling, but I can use that in my job with being a pageant coach as well. And then also when I'm competing in pageantry. Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you were mayor, how would you solve the unhoused problem that many cities are facing?
I'm from Hawaii, so there's a lot of homeless people in Hawaii because of how expensive it is to live. And I think instead of providing homeless people with different welfare checks or food stamps, I think we should be using that money to provide them different lessons to better their lives. So for example, providing them with interview lessons, providing them with different clothes that they could wear to job interviews. So I'm really thinking about less about giving them a paycheck and more about them developing real life skills so that they can later on be integrated into society.
What advice would you give yourself, yourself
5 years ago? Yeah. So 5 years ago was actually when my skin was the worst. I was suffering from cystic acne. And it was not only debilitating to my self-confidence, but it was debilitating to my everyday life because if you don't know, cystic acne is extremely painful. So I would tell my younger self that it always gets better. Just learn how to take care of yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I now go to the dermatologist every other month to take care of my skin. So I definitely would tell myself, you know, it may feel like it's serious in that moment, but 5 years from now, your skin's gonna clear up and you're gonna be okay.
If you had a chance to meet and have dinner with one person, who would that person be and what would you want to discuss on it?
My answer for this is always Marilyn Monroe. She has been such an inspiration to me, especially as a woman in filmmaking. She was actually one of the first females to create her own film production company. So I would really love to talk to her about the stereotype of her being a dumb blonde and how she decided to break through with that by taking that leadership role of being the first female to create a production company.
Who's a role model?
As cheesy as it sounds, I would definitely say that my mom is my role model. So my mom was a single mother and she decided to come to America to raise me here, to give me a better life and be able to express myself creatively. That's why I decided to join filmmaking, and that's why I decided to be a leader in my community by being a pageant coach. So I really thank my mom for taking that leap of faith and coming to America to provide me with all these amazing opportunities. Thank you.
Yes, so I'm glad we came up with our, obviously, you guys know that.
About the time.
14 seconds.
Started that question. How would you like to use your title found helping community life?
I would use the title to help my community by creating after-school programs for children in at-risk communities. So my platform is about children from broken families. I was raised by a single parent and I had a superhero for a mom. So luckily she was able to shelter me from a lot of the issues that come with that. But I recognize that not everyone is as lucky. So I would use the platform to bring awareness to something that's so common.
Welcome. What do you think your generation teach?
I think that my generation would be able to teach older generations to take it easy. I think that the older generation was focused on survival, and my generation, we're very comfortable with just living in the moment. And thank you so much for your time.
Okay. Thank you. We're all good over here.
I didn't know it was 1 minute.
Yeah, let me set it at 7.
Okay. Your community, both locally and globally.
Thank you for that. So I'm actually a candidate from Orlando, Florida. So I flew out all the way to be here. And one thing that I do to support my community locally is I volunteer regularly at the One Heart Orlando, which is an organization that helps the women that are survivors from domestic violence to get the resources needed to take that next step in their lives. And across the US, I actually come back here and support the Miss Asian Global organization as well as the Asian America Foundation by hosting the very first casino night event, which helps benefit the organization.
Consider a leader or follower.
I would definitely say I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm naturally an introvert. So in situations where there's someone that is clearly the person that wants to be in charge, oh shoot.
Telling us about yourself and the main reason why you're getting the position.
Of course. So my name is Marissa Chin. I am a Bay Area native. I grew up in the East Bay. I've lived there all my life, except for when I went to college and I went to Davis. And it was there when I got my first big girl job as a peer advisor / mentor, helping with freshman navigating college life. And I really love that aspect of helping people figure out their like path in life. And I learned a lot about why inclusion is so important as well, because like we can give everybody the tools they need to succeed no matter what their backgrounds are. And that really ignited a spark in me to pursue my current career, which is an engineering recruiter, where I help people in their careers and help them achieve their professional goals. And I am also a mentor to underserved youth in the Bay Area, where I help them with all of their resources they need to be successful young professionals in the future. So that's a little bit about me. And the reason why I joined MAG was for my younger self, actually, because she was very shy. She didn't have a lot of confidence, and she would just look at all those pretty girls like, wow, I wish that could be me. But I just didn't have that confidence. And so now I want to do this for her to show her that you are beautiful, you're strong, you're intelligent, and you have a voice, and you use it to speak on things that really matter to you.
Thank you. Marissa, are you considered a leader or a follower? And tell us more.
Of course. I would say definitely when I was younger, I was a follower. I did not have my own opinions. If somebody liked golden retrievers, that was my favorite animal. If somebody liked One Direction, that was my favorite band. And as I've really grown into myself, I definitely believe that I'm now a leader. We are all responsible for our own decisions in our own life, and nobody can really help us in that regard. Like if I'm going to follow somebody else, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be my authenticity from that. So I definitely love to like be a leader, and when I do see change, like I don't want to be silent. I want to speak up about things, especially like, using my platform now to speak about why mentorship is so important and really leading the next generation of future leaders. Oh, I'm an engineering recruiter, so I recruit the engineers, but unfortunately I don't know how to code yet. I'm learning.
Being an engineer recruiter, you also have to have some understanding of engineering and how that works. I mean, have you personally faced any challenges because there aren't that many women who are in that space? And how did you overcome it?
Yeah, of course. I've definitely had instances where I speak to engineers and they think that they're better than me, or like, oh, you're just a recruiter. You don't understand like the lingo or like what makes a good engineer. And so with those, I just like, okay, don't let what they say knock you down, because like I know that I'm great at what I do. I know that I have all of the necessary materials to find a good candidate. So I really try not to let it get to me, because I know in myself that I am great at what I do, and they just have their own opinions, but that's their opinion, and I know that's not a reflection of me. Of San Francisco? That's a really great question. I think that I don't live in San Francisco. I live in Concord, but I do come here a lot. I think that some of the things that I'd love to do is help with I'd love to bring companies back into San Francisco. I know a lot of tech companies are leaving, and I really do miss that office environment. I think that it's great because we get to interact with people. So I'd love to try to bring companies back here rather than them moving to Texas or Vegas or something like that. Really keep the heart of tech here. I'd also love to try to work on the homeless population a little bit more. When I worked in the city, it was people that were homeless. And now that I see that, it really just hits home, because they don't have a home. And that's something that I wish that I can really help impact. And I think the last thing would be to just make it a place where people want to visit and come to, because it's a really beautiful city. And I know that it's been struggling a little bit with tourism just with all the break-ins. So if we can really just make it more beautiful again, I'd love to focus on that too. So growing up, I unfortunately didn't have any mentors. I'm the oldest daughter, so I had a little sister. So I'd say that I was always her role model, and I was I don't have anybody that I could really look up to that was about the same age as me. And I think that really that really didn't help me with my self-confidence and just figuring out who I was in life. it wasn't until my senior year of college that I actually found somebody. Her name is Melanie, and I would say that she's definitely my role model. And she's everything that I'd want to be in a person, just confident, strong, powerful, and like knows what she does. And so she helps me a lot with my mentorship and just like really helping me personally and professionally. So it's great to have somebody that always believes in me. Yeah. So if I had a title, I'd love to continue to give back to the community. It's something that I do a lot on my own as well. I love engaging with the community, different organizations, and like learning more about how we can continue to impact. So I'd love to use my platform to talk about mentorship and maybe get more of my pageant sisters involved in activities with the nonprofits that I work at to really raise awareness to why mentorship is important, especially in underserved communities here in the Bay Area. And I'd love to just like promote Miss Asian Global so much. It's given me so much, and I'd love to help young girls find their voice as well through it.
Can you share with us one of your favorite artists and what draws you?
Art, like musical artists, like drawing artists. Taylor Swift is definitely one of my favorite musical artists. She's a lyrical genius, and she really is a resilient woman that I try to embody as well. She's super confident. She never lets anything knock her down. She'll pick herself back up, and she really she has like such a beautiful presence to her.
Well, there is somebody that I would love to have dinner with. Her name is Minjin Lee, and she's the author of a novel called Pachinko, and it's actually been made into a television series now as well. I had the privilege of meeting her last year, actually, and we are still following each other on social media now. And I emailed her recently and I said, hey, just letting you know, if you ever want to grab dinner, I know you're super busy, let me know. I'd love to take you out because she's one of my role models. She's one of my role models because she is a Asian American female writer, and we actually went to the same high school in New York, Bronx Science. And I am an aspiring novelist as well. And last year I had the privilege of pitching to literary agents at the Gotham Writers Workshop in New York. Fortunately, I didn't get any offers, but I did walk away feeling incredibly grateful for the experience, the feedback, and I'm just continuing to work on that goal now as well. And so, yeah, I feel very grateful for that. Thank you.
So the second part of my question is, what would you want to discuss?
Sure. Yeah. So Minjin Lee, I mean, we have very similar backgrounds. We grew up in Queens. We both went to the same high school, and she is a writer. She switched from, I think, a legal career to becoming a full-time novelist, and she is one of the most successful Asian American female writers now. And so I would love to just talk about her journey if she has any advice for me as well, because that's something that I'm aspiring to be like. And she also was an ambassador for the US on President Joe Biden's one of the most recent visits he made to South Korea. We're both Korean. And so I would just also love to pick her brain on that experience. And she is great at sort of representing the Asian American community. And so she is involved in a lot of events as well. So would just love to pick her brain on those things.
Tell us a bit about your childhood and the main reason why you decided to compete in this.
Sure. So I grew up in Queens, New York, and I actually chose a very steady career path of human resources. So I have 6.5 years of corporate HR experience now. I've worked at Tory Burch, Estee Lauder, and Vice Media. But when I joined the corporate workforce, I realized that I desperately needed a creative outlet, which is why I returned to something I loved to do when I was a little girl, which is writing. And so that's how I sort of started to write over the last few years. And now I have a novel draft of over 50,000 words, trimmed down from an original 80,000. It is a sci-fi novel. And so, yeah, I do think that my childhood, just loving to write, it was something that I went back to. And I think that when you think about the things that you love to do when you're a little kid, I think you love them for a reason. It probably has something to do with maybe your long-term hobbies and passions and interests. Yeah. So I wanted to compete because I wanted to exercise my communication skills. As I said, I love to write, and so communication is very clearly important to me, but I actually think that I struggle with it a bit in my personal life. I struggle to maybe speak up at times, stand up for what's right or what's important to me. And so I wanted to exercise that in a pageant. I also wanted to exercise my public speaking skills. And a pageant is a great place to do that because you literally have to hone in on your story and feel comfortable sharing that with the world and not kind of shying away from who you are.
I know you have many strengths, being one of the type of professors, but can you tell me about any weaknesses that you?
Sure. So one weakness I would say is I can be a bit of an overthinker. I think second weakness is that I maybe doubt myself a little bit. I think all of us do, but I think that is one weakness that I'm trying to overcome. And then I think the third weakness is maybe that I haven't always been the most authentic to myself because I chose a career path out of stability instead of what was really meaningful to me because I was scared of that risk. And so my overthinking kind of is a struggle because I can't sleep very well at night. The second struggle about the doubt, I think, is something I'm working on actively, which is why I'm participating in a pageant. And then the third thing, as I said, just not being authentic to myself, it's something that I'm also working on now. I've actually decided over the last few weeks, especially going through this pageant, that I actually want to return back to school and get my MFA in creative writing. So I am planning to apply to some programs in January to hopefully start the fall semester next year at a program in New York.
Alexis, as an aspiring novelist, I'm sure you have ideas about the current move among some conservatives to ban books. What are your thoughts about that and how would you fight that?
Yeah, definitely. I've seen the news about that. And it's very unfortunate because I think that libraries as well, they're trying to defund some of those libraries. Libraries are a great resource. I grew up right behind library. My mom's house is still there. And I think that books are critical to knowledge and education. I think those are the most important things in life because that's going to take you further than anything. It's investing in yourself, in your mind and your knowledge. And libraries are great because they give you access to books and they also give you access to language courses and they also give you access to community. There's so many free events and great things that you can do at the library. So very unfortunate. And I think as somebody who's aspiring to be a writer, I would definitely just continue working on my journey anyways, despite that. And I think that the internet is a great resource. Even if they ban physical books, I don't think that they can ban the internet and the resources on there.
Is there a way that you fight that? Maybe hold up protest signs? I'm not sure.
So sure, I think that with my social media platform, for example, my cat, for example, has a following of 20,000 followers on Facebook. It's small, but I feel like I can make more of an impact there than just protesting. And so I think that just voicing your opinions on your platforms and then also just speaking about it with your friends who may not be aware, and then also just giving back to your local libraries. I don't live in a conservative state. I live in New York. And so really just trying to give back to my library. I actually donated a bunch of books a few months ago because I moved and I wanted to clean some things out. But I think that those are some ways that I could help. I think it's more hopeful. I think that technology is going to give us a lot of great opportunities. Thank you guys.
Hi.
Introduce yourself and tell us why you decided to be this passion.
Sure. So a little bit about me, I am 20 years old and I just graduated with my bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Hawaii, West Oahu. And I do have a classroom of my own filled with 22 very fun, exciting students back at home. So I'm excited to start my school year with them once I get back to Hawaii. And then I actually joined MAG to give myself an opportunity to learn how to really dress up. And I also did it as a form of self-love because I was in high school when COVID hit. So my whole senior year got taken away, which meant no prom, no homecoming, no winter ball, all of those sorts of things. So coming into MAG, I was like, oh yeah, this will be super fun. I get to dress up. I get to be around such empowering women. And I get to also be here with all of you.
Thank you, Sky. So, talking about what's happening currently in Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
fires, in terms of Hawaii, what's going to be your first
My first priority is going to be to make sure my students are okay. Throughout this whole entire week, I've been getting emails from my principal saying, like, just reminding us of how we can keep our students safe because they need to make sure that they have their inhalers if they have asthma and any sort of other medication. I'm on the island of Oahu, which is about a 40-minute flight away from Maui, where the fires were. And with the vlog that'll be coming in or possibly coming in, I just want to make sure that they're safe. So for them, like that's my #1 priority. And because we're in an AC classroom, it should be much safer than them than having the windows. So for me, that's something I'm definitely going to take care of first, their well-being.
Sky, how would you use your title crown to help you?
I would use my title crown to help my community by promoting my social platform. So for me, I really believe in equitable education. I'm at a Title I school, which means that more than half of my students are from low-income households. Actually, half of my students didn't show up for meet and greet with school supplies, or they just didn't show up at all because either their parents are working so many different jobs, and then on top of that, their parents are just not around. A couple of them actually live with guardians, and yeah, they just don't have the money for supplies. So if I can have that crown and that title, I can really help get them the supplies that they need in order to really succeed. So that's something I would do with my title. Three things I would do to improve the city is definitely allocate funds for education. That's something that we always push for, but we never get. So for me, my starting salary is only like $4,000 a month, which is really low, especially with the high cost of living. And I feel like the teachers, for every single paycheck that we get, it goes back to our students. So we don't really have enough money for rent, and majority of the teachers have a second job. So I want to allocate funds to education. On top of that, our homelessness issue is a really big thing. And part of it is just because housing is so expensive. And with more people coming in from the mainland, buying land, it makes it very difficult for the It's another big thing. A lot of the land is being taken away. So for example, there was a 30-meter telescope issue that was going on top of Mauna Kea. They were trying to build this really big telescope on top of a volcano that is super duper sacred to the Hawaiians. So with a lot of their land being taken away, I feel like it's very important to honor that land because it does not belong to us. I'm not Hawaiian and I recognize that, and I know that I am a foreigner to their land. But as a teacher, I feel like it is my responsibility to teach students to really care for the place that they come from. So I want to allocate funds to education, take care of the homelessness situation, and also make sure that the Native Hawaiian people get the land that they deserve.
You talked about there is what's called the gender gap, or the way where women hospital forces where
Mhm.
what do you do to combat that?
For the salary gap between women and men, I feel like it's just very important to recognize how hard a woman works, and it's also important to educate. So for me as a teacher, I want to instill that, we're all equal. Women are not better than men, men are not better than women. Everybody is on the same level. And I think if I can instill that into my students and they become such amazing change makers, then that will definitely be an issue that can be resolved. For me, I definitely see myself as a leader. As a teacher, I am, giving a lot more to my students. And then on top of that, not only do I work with elementary school students, I've also done stuff at the high school level and also with the intermediate school. I am actually a chapter advisor for a Collegiate Honor Society on our high school campus that I went to. So I'm giving back to my community in that sense. But it's really important for me to make decisions, but at the same time, be a listener. I don't think I'm a follower, but I think I'm a leader who really listens to everybody and who really takes their thoughts and opinions into consideration. So that's how I would best describe myself. Artists as in singers or any way that I want. Awesome.
One thing, whatever.
So my favorite artist is Nikki. She is from Indonesia. And for me, she's really, really special because she's an Asian artist. I know a lot of people on the radio are Caucasian or are Black. And then for me, seeing that representation inside of the music industry is really important. So fun fact, she just announced that she's coming to Hawaii, and a lot of artists don't come here. So I'm really, really, really excited. And I actually bought tickets to go see her with my sister. This was after I spent all my money for the pageant, but I'm hoping that my paycheck for my work can go right back into those 2 tickets. But I really wanted to treat my sister to this opportunity. And yeah, I really believe in cultural representation. So thank you so much for being here, and I really enjoyed our interview together. And I will see you at the judges' reception. Thank you.
I feel like as an Asian woman, it's hard for us to speak up because we're easily dismissed. I feel like as a student at Castro Valley High School, I'm afraid to speak up during lectures or during Socratic seminars because I feel intimidated by my peers because they have a lot more experience than I do in both education and athleticism and in the music. I believe that the submissive idea of Asian women is often stereotyped, and that's usually targeted. And I think that kind of mentality often decreases one's mentality, especially with Asian women. Thank you.
The main reason why you decided to participate.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Of course, yes. So tell us a bit about yourself,
Mhm.
and the main reason you decided to.
Of course. I'm a 17-year-old student athlete at Castro Valley High School. In school, I'm on my varsity water polo and swim team. Outside of school, I love doing my makeup and I love feeding my boba addiction. I love going out and I just trying new places. I love trying new food as well and traveling. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you tell us how you would use your title crown to help the community?
I would use my crown to talk about my social platform, which is greater funding for school extracurriculars. As an athlete at my school, water polo and swim aren't as popular as the usual football or soccer or basketball. And that's because not as many students really know about the sport, and also because it's not really popular in the TV or on television. And so because it's not as popular, not much funding goes into it, not many people buy tickets. And that also leads on to the schools, distribution on money. Our pool is often broken and cold. And from my high school, we had to go to our local community college, the Chabot College pool, and to swim there and host water polo games there because our pool is too cold and not deep enough. So definitely with my title, I would love to, advocate for greater funding for school extracurriculars. Thank you.
So, welcome. What would you say to skeptics who look at paths like this and consider them superficial?
That's a really popular question. And I definitely thought about this a lot. And I believe that pageantry not only broadcasts a platform for women to not only show their beauty, but also their knowledge. I feel like it's really rare for people to really accept that because pageantry, it's the beauty is basically their swimsuit, somebody's body, their face, their makeup, their hair. But I think most importantly that I learned about this pageant is how smart the girls are and how their knowledge really carries them throughout this entire process. Thank you.
Curious, what do you view of leadership? How do we affect these things that we see in the world, in the community, or more broadly? And how would you have an impact on some of the challenges?
I believe that having an open mindset going to these topics, these controversial topics especially, is extremely beneficial. I know that people have their own opinions, but it's also extremely important to hear other perspectives, other opinions that could definitely render whether you still believe in it or maybe introduce a new idea in your head that might change or even add to your own beliefs. Thank you. Mhm.
Yes, of course. If I were the mayor, I would love to advocate for school extracurriculars. I think school extracurriculars are extremely important because not only do colleges focus on, your academics, but extracurriculars are extremely strong because they show a student's ability to multitask and their ability to balance their education, but also their time outside education, and sports, music, even clubs are extremely important. And I believe that as mayor, I would definitely reach out to my schools, to my students, and definitely bring that idea forward. Thank you.
So you told us that you're an athlete, swimmer,
Mhm.
which requires a lot of training. How would you convert that type of training?
Yes, it's a lot of determination, balancing, your life, your sports, your school. And that definitely has been a struggle for me. But in high school, I learned importantly that it's very important to prioritize your tasks, especially the ones that are coming up. I believe that having a schedule is nice, but to cram all that work through one necessary week is extremely hard and it also tires you down. And I believe that just spreading it out and definitely taking time to yourself and definitely working on yourself, taking maybe an hour to take a shower and really do your skincare, your makeup, for me especially, definitely helps tone me down and relax.
You had a chance to meet, have dinner with one person, who would that person be, and what would you want to discuss with them?
I would definitely want to discuss the school extracurriculars with our president, actually. I definitely think that extracurriculars are important. I mentioned that a lot. But I definitely think it's really important, and it definitely shows the different types of activities people do and the different types of activities they do to stay occupied. A lot of people, they're playing on their phone a lot, but that also doesn't mean something negative. Maybe they're working on a certain project or they're playing games, but that also means they're a new perspective on their life and what they want to do in the future. And maybe playing video games on the mobile device can transfer over to, life skills and even, their job or careers in the future. Thank you.
Do you think there's any specific extracurricular that's more important than another?
I definitely think that all extracurriculars are important. Sports, music, they're all valuable. Thank you all for your questions today. I really
Has to offer and teach my generation?
I believe that my generation is more open-minded. I believe the older generation may be a little more set in their ways. So my generation has a lot of creativity, not that the older generation doesn't, but then our generation loves to explore new things. And that is something that I believe our younger generation can teach. Yeah, so I just turned 23 today, so I'm very excited to spend. Thank you, thank you. I'm so excited to spend my birthday with all my MAG sisters. When I actually recently graduated with a business marketing degree, and my interest in marketing came from collaborating with makeup and skincare brands back in high school and college. So when the pandemic started, I taught myself how to do my own nails. And I thought, with all that free time, why not turn that into small business? So I created my own small business doing nail extension and nail art for clients. And I accepted about 4 to 6 a week and made an extra $500 to $1,000 each month, which was really great. And then I turned that into a small business online selling custom nail orders so that I can reach a bigger client base. And why I'm here today is to challenge myself. I've been very shy and introverted for all my life. I still am. So I'm very excited that I'm actually pushed myself to be here today. My favorite artist right now or band is Radwimps. They create musical scores and soundtrack for Makoto Shinkai films, which are anime movies. I love how their film scores and soundtracks make me feel a certain type of way when watching the movie. So every time I hear a Radwimps song, I actually tear up a little bit, and I've memorized all the lyrics and I can sing along to most of their songs. Mhm.
As an Asian woman, and from in 3 to 5 years, how do you see your entrepreneurship business growing?
So I see my entrepreneurship skills growing by expanding with a bigger client base. Right now, most of my clients are returning ones, so I hope to learn how to market myself to more people who may have not heard of me. So I hope to use like my TikTok marketing skills to expand to maybe people who are out of the city who may want to come get their nails done by me.
Right, well, so how would you use your title funds on your
Yeah, so if I were to win Miss Asian Global, I would love to bring more awareness to my community about the devastating effects that bullying has and hate crime on individuals and communities. As a victim of bullying myself, I know how hard it was for me to gain self-confidence and love being Chinese. In middle school, I hated being Chinese because people would always tease me about my eyes, about what I ate, and how I looked in general. So I would love to spread more kindness and compassion so that we can no longer have a society where bullying is okay. My first weakness would be my indecisiveness. If you ask me where to eat for lunch, I would probably give you 2 options because I cannot decide. I'm always stuck between, oh, maybe I would love noodles or maybe we can get a burrito. So indecisiveness is definitely one of my greatest weaknesses. A second one would be my self-doubt. I've always been scared to put myself out there, but I'm here today, which is saying a lot. So I'm hoping that I can take more steps to overcome that. And a third weakness I would say is I'm sometimes very scared to approach people first. I would love to be more confident in myself to make more friends and network.
Have you had a mentor in your life that
Yeah, so my first mentor was my track coach back in high school. Back in track, I was actually one of the top runners, but I was always very scared to just speak with all the other coaches and ask for help on how I can improve. But my track coach not only helped me improve in the athletic field, but he also gave me a lot of life lessons when I was scared or when I was going through a rough patch with my family. So he would always tell me how to approach certain situations, and I was very thankful for having my track coach in my life, and I still sometimes occasionally call him. Something that I believe that is still unfulfilled for me is being super, super confident in everything that I do. I believe that I'm still growing and everything that I have done in life is a certain lesson, and I hope to one day radiate the most confidence I can so that I can be the best version of myself. Yeah, so some techniques that I use to be confident is words of affirmation. I believe that when you speak things into existence, then you will eventually believe it. And I am getting there. And I believe that I am definitely at my most confident. Thank you so much for this interview.
Yes, of course. So my name is Vivian. I pretty much grew up in Los Angeles. I'm an LA native, so if you ever go there, I have a lot of good food trucks. But I spent a big chunk of my childhood in Tokyo, Shanghai, and Beijing. So when I was in Tokyo, I studied more about other Asian cultures and got to know more about people that were similar to me. And then I moved to China. That was where my family was from, and I got to know a lot more about my root. My grandfather was really passionate about arts, and he taught me about art, and that's where I got my creativity from at such a young age. And I really got to use that to inspire what I do later on in my life. And after I came back to LA, I fell in love with Los Angeles and I decided to go to school here. So I went to USC and I studied business and design. And after graduation, I went through a few career shifts and now I am in my dream career. I am a product ops specialist at TikTok. And if you're familiar with the gift panels, the gifts on the gift panel, I helped design a lot of those. Some of them have gone viral. And yeah, I also work to empower creators. Currently, I also use my platform to, I want to really mentor other people. As a first generation student here, I want to be able to help more people because I struggled a bit finding resources for myself. So I want to build that bridge and connect people too. Thank you.
If you had a chance to meet, have dinner with anyone, living or deceased, who would that be and what would you want to talk to them about?
Yes, I would love to have dinner with Taylor Swift. I actually went to her concert just a few days ago and it was like so amazing. I was like crying. I was so emotional and I've been a big fan of her since day one. I was a fan of her ever since I was like so young, and being able to see her in person like really made me so emotional. I think she's such a great person. She like helps so many people and she just really cares about her fans. And like what I really admire about her was like during she had like a Reputation era where she was getting a lot of backlash, but she got up from it and she like literally got even better. And now she's, so powerful and so amazing. I would love to ask her just, what gave her the courage to get back from all of that, getting so much backlash from people around the world. And, how did she flip herself and become such an amazing, better version of herself? Yes. So as someone that is an introvert, I am definitely a little slower to warming up to people as compared to my extroverted friends. But that really doesn't stop me from taking on extroverted activities. And I love pushing myself outside my comfort zone to try new things. And like some examples would be when I was in high school. So I love performing. So I joined a dance team and I did very competitive dance in my high school. And then later on, I joined my sorority, my business fraternity, and even working on TikTok, working so closely with so many creators. And now this pageant is my very first pageant. And I really continue to strive to push myself. Before TikTok, I actually worked at Oracle, and that was my very first sales role. As someone that's like introverted, that's like the scariest thing to ever do, like cold calling. Like at first I was like, no, I'm never gonna cold call. But like my coworkers were so encouraging. My mentors at the company like helped me so much. And I became one of the highest performing like cold calling person. And I don't have like a very strong sales pitch, but I really try to understand people and cold call people. And I try to understand how to help them. And it just goes to show that you don't have to have the loudest voice to be the most powerful person and be able to make a change.
If you're the mayor of Los Angeles, what are some of your priorities?
Yes, if I was a mayor of LA, I would, so something I'm very passionate about is sustainable fashion. So I actually, over COVID, I started my own like fashion brand. I did silk scrunchies for girls to help people with their hair, and it's also super eco-friendly. So I also like created TikToks, like social media marketing, and handmade each of them myself. And I think right now, like our textile pollution, just pollution in general, is really impacting our environment. And I would love to have it start from the city and be able to have like the mayor start and out more like initiatives for the environment to help with global warming and help with more fashion initiatives, because fashion is like such a big industry that causes so much textile pollution every year. So I think just starting with the city, starting with a mayor, and then with each person, like that could really go a long way. Thank you.
As a young Asian woman, what do you see some hurdles and challenges?
Yes, yes. As a woman and as a woman in tech, I feel that women's voices are still not as heard out as much. I feel like it's definitely a lot better with, currently like ERGs, like clubs within your company and different platforms to speak out. It's a very welcoming space, but I think women in general, they're more reserved, and especially Asians, like we like to work hard and keep quiet. But in this generation, I think speaking out is more important than ever. As someone who works for a social media company, I think it's very important to speak out about what you care about and have a voice in, the society, the company, and be able to impact more people through that way. Hi.
You mentioned that you were at TikTok.
I can be quick. Oh, I love tomato and egg. Thank you so much for having me.
Born and bred in San Francisco, but I graduated in 2019 with a labor and employment studies major. And right after, I did an internship at a labor union. And initially, my plans with this degree was to go to law school. I wanted to focus more on employment issues within the blue collar line of work. But as I was studying for the LSAT, COVID happened. And I didn't really see my Legally Blonde experience panned out through Zoom. So I kind of pivoted and I started working in public relations and PR at a PR firm. And this was a great thing because I got an opportunity to work with Slack Technologies. And at the time, they were really pioneering the future of work in the remote setting. So it was really nice to kind of use what I learned in college in a more white collar corporate setting. Downtime, I am an MBA enthusiast. I've been passionate about the MBA since 2019. Go Dub Nation. And I am a plant mom to 20 plants. And my reason for joining Miss Asian Global is because of my mom. My mom has always wanted me to do pageants. I think it's because I'm tall. She thinks I'm the most beautiful person in the world, but I'm kind of a tomboy. It's not really my thing. But this year she was really adamant. She had met Rose Chung. And I mean, honestly, growing up, people told her she should be in pageants, she told me, but she had me when she was 19. So that's an automatic disqualification. So I am here to share my experience with my mom. And it's crazy. We got to pick out my outfits together, how I should do my hair, how I should do my makeup. It's been really fun just kind of sharing this whole experience with her. I know a hot topic with the Bay Area right now is crime rate, drugs, homelessness, right? I believe I would work with Mayor London Breed on, I would address the homeless problem first. I think with San Francisco, I grew up in San Francisco, we've always had homeless. I've never been afraid of homeless. I've kind of just lived side by side with them. I think homelessness has been increasing a lot, mainly because of the drug problem. I think San Francisco has been really lax with how we address drug issues. And they've made opioids and drugs kind of, I don't want to say accessible, but they have ways to kind of mitigate those who do want to use drugs. So the first thing I would do is address homelessness. I think something we can do is definitely affordable housing. I believe that San Francisco is expensive, and even for me, it's expensive. I grew up here. I want to retire here someday. I think the first step is affordable housing for the homeless, and I would work with London Breed for that. Yes. I think it's unfair. I think women have worked really hard throughout the decades and centuries to be on the same level as men. I think there's a lot we can still work on. I think number one issue is, I think with men, it's a lot easier for them to speak up and advocate for themselves. I think with women, we tend to be a little bit more shy, a little bit more on the, I'm just here to do my job kind of role. I think it starts with women needing to feel empowered and feeling the need to, when they get a job offer and they see what their pay is and they don't agree with it, saying, hey, is there any way I can have some leverage to increase my salary? This is what I bring to the table. This is how I feel I should be compensated. I think it starts with women feeling the need to be feeling confident, feeling empowered. And I think that starts with role models, the older generation sharing their experiences like you, right? I'm pretty sure you're a very confident woman, and whatever young woman you meet, if you can exclude that confidence, that can show them that, hey, I kind of want to be like her. I kind of want to raise my voice and I want to be a champion of change. And I think with the younger generation, I think we're already kind of doing that though. I think the younger generation is very autonomous in who they are and what they bring to the table. I think it's more about just I think it needs time though, for us to grow up, grow into our skin and make that change. Yeah, thank you for being here. I really want to have an impact just in my community. I believe my greatest strength is my adaptability, my comfortability. And a lot of people tell me I'm really down to earth. And when they talk to me, I'm very relatable. I think it starts with me just being present with the people I'm with and making sure that they're comfortable and that they can find their voice. I also believe that the impact that I want to make in this world is I studied labor and employment studies, and right now I'm working in public relations. I think within the next 10, 15 years, I might want to explore law school again, just when the world is kind of back to normal and I have a little bit more experience in this world and in the workplace setting. I think my contributions to employment issues is something I'm really passionate about, and I do want to continue in the future. I think within the next 10, 15 years, that should happen.
What advice would you give yourself 5 years ago?
5 years ago, I would tell myself to be more confident. I feel really confident now. I feel like that took a couple of years to learn. And the ups and downs that I faced definitely molded me to who I am today. But I wish I had told myself 5 years ago to be patient and just live in the moment and not care about why is this happening to me? Why is this happening now? But more as just live in the moment. Your experiences make you who you are. And that is what I would tell myself. Over the last 5 years, definitely COVID, working in the remote setting and having to kind of advocate for myself without meeting any of my coworkers. Working in public relations, if you didn't know this, working in public relations is a very white woman-dominated industry. In my last job, I was one of 4 Asians. And I wish that I would just speak up more back then. And I feel like that's something I am doing now. Thank you all.
Right this way here. So imagine you're the Asian Taylor Swift. How would you use your stardom and platform to impact other young women?
Yeah, of course. So, Taylor Swift is such a big celebrity. Everybody knows her. She's such an influential figure. Being Asian Taylor Swift, I would be so proud to, have so many people look up to me. And I'm very passionate about being a first generation Asian and Mexican person in the United States. I think I would be able to write songs to inspire people. And with my organization that I want to create, I think I would promote that with my platform and sing songs about that and help inspire others to know that there is a support system for the first generation immigrant families to get support. So I think that is something that I would want to do.
How did your Asian and Mexican heritage shape who you are?
Yeah. So, I have a Chinese mother and Mexican father, and I think naturally because I have two different cultures, I really have a deep passion for learning about different cultures. And I went to school in UC San Diego. I studied international business, and I had the amazing opportunity to actually study abroad and study in Spain for a year. And this really ignited my passion for traveling and more so living abroad. I was able to live in Spain. I was able to meet people from all over the world, different cultures. And that really has inspired me to want to help others embrace their cultures so that we can all learn about each other and feel connected in that way.
Had a chance to meet and have dinner with one person. Who that person?
Yeah. So currently my father isn't doing well, and it's very fresh, so I'm super sorry. But he hasn't woken up, and I think I would want to have a dinner with him one last time so that, you know, I could thank him for everything. And I wasn't able to say goodbye to him yet. You know, we are still in the process of hoping that he'll wake up. And this has really taught me to, you know, tell people that you love them, show them that you love them so that they know, because you never know what can happen, you know? So I think at this moment, I would really want to speak with my father. Yeah. Yeah, so I actually, you know, I've interned a lot. I've worked at, you know, Fortune 500 companies, and I realized that I don't love that lifestyle. I don't really love having to be somewhere at a certain time and having to leave at a certain time. And during my time in Australia, I was able to work for a digital marketing agency, and my boss there gave me the freedom to work remotely. And this was even before COVID, before everyone had the opportunity to work remotely. And with this opportunity, I was able to realize that I know myself and I know when I'm most productive and when I am able to do the most work for myself. And my boss gave me this opportunity, and he really believed in that. And moving forward, I just got back from Australia last year. I decided to not do the 9 to 5, not work for a corporate job, but I have just started my own digital marketing agency. So I'm going through the entrepreneur route, and I want to pursue this and make my company a dream so that I'm able to live the lifestyle I want, which is, you know, traveling and living abroad and learning about different cultures and meeting different people. Yeah, I would say that I am a very supportive person. I believe that everyone has their own passions, and that if we are able to support one another in what they're passionate about, they can become better people. And throughout my history with work, I think that I have grown the most when my bosses, my mentors have been very supportive of myself and my choices. And I think that being supportive will allow every person to grow, and this generation really needs that. Yes, I just moved back.
All right, good, thank you there.
Yes.
So what is your priority?
Yes. So a bit about my platform. I am very passionate about helping the first generation immigrants. You know, being a first generation family, we had a lot of different issues, you know, not being able to, you know, read things in English, not knowing support systems, not knowing how to apply to college. You know, I had to figure all of that myself.
And I really want to make an impact in the city, especially San Francisco is so diverse. There's so many first generation families that I think this should be a priority. And I really want to promote language services, job my favorite is cultural workshops so that we all learn about each other. So that was my platform, and that is what I would want to promote being mayor. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Use your start on the platform to impact young women.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for that question, and thank you for all coming here today. If I'm Asian Taylor Swift, I believe that writing is such an impactful message. I would spread about them because it's such an incredible platform that it's important to talk about culture as an Asian woman. And I was Asian Taylor Swift. I would love to write songs about the experience of being an Asian woman.
Sarah, tell us about yourself and the main reason why you decided to compete in the competition.
Of course. So a bit about myself. I was born in New York, and then shortly after I moved to New Mexico, where I grew up for the majority of my childhood. And now currently I live in San Jose, California. And all those experiences about moving a lot, I feel like that really affected my personality, making me a more shy, reserved individual, even a little bit of a people pleaser. But I find that I no longer want to be defined by those characteristics, and I'm on my way to becoming a more bold and confident individual in which I'm putting myself out there exactly in this pageant, and I want to find a way to use this confidence to combining my passion for art and also my passion for technology with my major.
Sarah, so what would you do if you won this?
I think the importance of MAG is how it can improve. Women can grow and becoming more confident and bold. So I think a good way message is to show my personal growth journey through this pageant and set an example of how much a really shy and not that confident public speaker can grow and more confident to be on a stage in front of about 900 people. So I think I would love to promote on social media my journey, even make digital content in which I can show my growth and reach out to those who are also interested in pageantry. I think my definition of feminism is those who advocate for women's rights, and empowerment of women is just being there for each other. I think a lot of time women are pitted against each other. There's like jealousy or just trying to compete. So I don't think we should be spreading that message. I think women can do so much when we support each other. There's so much growth and kindness that we can share. And that's just how women should be there for each other. Thank you. I would say my dream mentor would be Zendaya. I think she's the perfect example of a woman who is in a radiant way. There's a reason why she's such a likable celebrity. She's beautiful. She's able to speak so confidently and advocate for women. And she's so talented. She's an actress, she's a dancer, singer, and I love how she's able to excel in so many different fields.
Looking at for this yourself in the next 5 years? And what do you see are some of the challenges that you might face?
I think I have a lot of challenges to deal with my career growth. I'm still really open to lots of opportunities. I don't think I have a set path for me yet. While I am going down the path of technology, as you know, so many industries have opportunities for growth. And I think challenges I would face would be maneuvering through a company, especially as an Asian woman, and just how I can be a woman in power as well.
If you had one carefree day with no plans or responsibilities, how would you spend that day?
I would love to spend a carefree day traveling. If with friends, I think that would also be a really fun time. I think that it's important to do self-care and to manage your mental health and just making sure that you're enjoying life. I would love to explore and see the world and just see what different cultures are out there as well.
If you were the mayor, of your city, what are 3 challenges that you would like?
I think that one challenge I would love to tackle is just how minorities are treated in certain parts of the workplace. I think that minorities are expected to be more submissive, and I think that we need to support each other and just show that we're capable of being more dominant as in industry. Another challenge I would think of is offering more career opportunities for growth. Right now, I know people my age have been struggling with the current state of our technology and stuff. So I think that it would be very important for us to offer more career growth for those who are starting out and being new graduates. And then a third one would be, it would be for poverty as well. Thank you so much.
What do you think is the biggest challenge facing your generation?
I think one of the biggest challenges that are facing my generation is definitely the use of social media. I think on one hand, although it makes communication more efficient, on the other hand, I think it has really hindered us from making deep personal connections. I think that what's really important is that we are able to communicate with others so that we can solve issues together as a community. And sometimes through social media, that really hinders us. So I think that's definitely one of our greatest issues in our society today. Yes.
I'm wondering what you look forward to learning about as it comes to aging as a woman.
You know, I've never really thought about aging as a woman. I think, of course, you know, I'm still young. I will be an incoming freshman at UC Berkeley this fall studying business administration. And I think in life, I'm someone who really likes to go with the flow. I'm very open-minded to new opportunities that arise. You know, I never thought that I would be doing a pageant today, and yes, here I am, right? So I think I'm always very open-minded to any new opportunities that arise for me, and I'm always willing to jump at it and take a risk and go for it. So, you know, I've never really thought about that. Mhm. Personally, as the former captain of my high school dance team for 2 years, I have really been able to discover my own leadership style. And that's something that I like to call quiet leadership. And I'll tell you a little story behind that. I used to work with a co-captain who had a very different personality from me. She was much more loud, a bit bossy even, and much more assertive. However, I was a little bit more soft-spoken. And originally, I didn't feel like I was doing good enough as a leader because I was often talked over. But I think over time, with practice and experience, I've really realized that to be a good leader, it doesn't necessarily take being the loudest or the most extroverted person. And sometimes being a good leader is to be able to be a role model for others and to set a good example for others to follow. So that is something that I really value in leadership.
And that's something that I think will really lead our future.
Can you share with us one of your favorite artists and what draws you to them?
One of my favorite artists through dance, I do a lot of dance. One of my favorite artists is Tanya Yuan. She is the principal ballet dancer of San Francisco Ballet. And I think Asian American representation is so important. She provides just that. So I really admire her.
As a young Asian woman, what hurdles do you see that face like you?
I think as Asians, oftentimes we are not very confrontational and sometimes we are not willing to take risks. However, as a young Asian woman, that is something that I strive to improve on every single day. And I try to take any risks and try to take any opportunities that arise and go for it. And so that's why I'm here at Miss Asian Global today. I actually was a backstage assistant last year, helping out all the other girls. And I felt so inspired by them that the next day I told my mom, you know what, I want to compete for Miss Asian Global this year. And so that's why I'm here today. And I'm so glad that I made that decision.
That's a betting into Cal. How do you hope to make an impact on the business?
In the future, I do really hope to be able to attend law school after getting my undergrad business degree. I want to become a corporate attorney to help Asian-owned businesses. And if that doesn't work out, I'm always very open-minded, but if that doesn't end up working out, I've always had the idea of starting my own business venture, maybe related to dance or fashion. I'm very passionate about fashion as well. I am currently the ambassador of a nonprofit organization called Catwalk for Charitable Causes, produced by fashion designer Monique Zhang and California State Treasurer Fiona Ma. And what we do is we produce charity fashion shows throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. And my personal contribution to that is to be able to dance and model at these charity fashion shows to support my community. And I'm really glad and grateful to have this opportunity to be able to combine both my passions for dance and fashion while being able to make an impact in my community. I think one of the weaknesses that kind of stems from being soft-spoken is also not asking for help. I think as an Asian American, oftentimes we are a little bit more shy and reserved, and growing up, I was a little bit like that as well. But I think through my experiences and activities such as dance and fashion modeling, they have really helped me to grow and to break out of my shell. And so that is definitely something that I've always worked on. Sometimes I'm afraid to ask for help, but I really worked on that. And I think it's important to ask for help when you need it. And so that's always something that I'm really working to improve on every single day.
What is there that you can teach my generation?
I think something that we can teach past our generations is to really provide future generations with the inspiration and mentorship. Something that Miss Asian Global stands for is mentorship, aspirations, and growth. And I think that is so important. I think mentorship is something that is so important that Francis has also instilled in me as well. I think to have someone who is a role model for you and to be able to share their experiences and knowledge with you is something that is so important. And so that's why I'm really glad that I joined Miss Asian Global, because I get that chance to have that mentorship. I think oftentimes previous generations, such as our parents, will provide us with really high expectations. I think especially coming from an Asian immigrant family, oftentimes we face that pressure of always having to get good grades to be successful or to achieve certain things. And I think something that we can teach previous generations is to sometimes just let us be ourselves. And I think that one day when we pursue our own passions, we will be successful on our own. And so there's no set way, there's no set path to success. I think every person's pathway is different. And I think that's something that is really important. Ooh, I'm definitely a carb baby. My mom, when she was pregnant with me, she told me that she unfortunately gained a lot of weight because I love carbs, but one of my favorite foods is definitely pasta. Well, thank you so much for all your questions. I really enjoyed it, and I hope to see you soon at the judges reception.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. My name is Felicia Tang. I'm 24 years old. I'm actually born and raised in the Bay Area, but I moved to Shanghai, China when I was 6 years old, and I lived there for 7 years. I really enjoyed my time there because I actually attended an international school, and that really taught me how to
embrace other people and other my classmates who came from very different cultures and backgrounds than I did. And I also became a really big foodie as a result because I love trying all of my classmates' lunches that they brought from home that their parents made. However, when I moved back to the US and I later attended college at UC Berkeley, I realized how like such a simple thought as to what to eat next for my next meal was a privilege that I had that many of my community members didn't have. That really drove me to address food insecurity and volunteer to promote nutrition advocacy in my community. And currently, I am a medical student at UCSF. I'm actually starting my second year next week. I am very excited and I hope to become a physician and advocate and continue to work on improving nutrition access because not many people think about how food is such the root cause of a lot of the chronic health conditions that we face today. And so that's something that I'm very passionate about. Yeah. And I'm here today because I actually competed in another pageant a long time in high school, actually 7 years ago. That transformed me. And I think that now I'm going into my second year of medical school. I really want to have that experience again and push myself even furthermore so that I can be a better physician in the future for my patients.
As a young person, there's just a lot of global. What are some advice that you could give to someone?
I think something I would tell our leaders is the importance of diversity. Recently, with the Supreme Court ruling about the racially based affirmative action, I think that was something that I really was pretty passionate about and hearing because I'm in higher education and I'm going into healthcare where it's really important to have a group of trainees who are diverse because they will be treating patients who are very diverse. And only when I'm in a student group who have very different backgrounds and cultures than I do, I learn from them, we learn from each other. And as a result, when we have, when we're treating a patient in the future who's different from us, who have very different values, we're still able to provide the highest quality care. And whether that's like racially based or whatever, any other characteristic, I think it's very important that we address diversity in healthcare and especially in education. That's something that I really think is important to, I would like to talk to the government officials about, which is making sure that we address diversity, especially in a country where we need to talk about race because we can't get rid of racism or any other prejudice without talking about it, without addressing it up front. Thank you.
So, there are many of your executives that three issues that happen.
I think the first issue that comes to mind is definitely improving public transportation. I know how the Muni at Chinatown took quite a number of years to build, and I'm somebody who absolutely doesn't enjoy driving in San Francisco. Every time just I get really nervous. And I think if there was better public transportation available, that will really eliminate the need for me to have to drive and navigate the complicated streets of FS. So that's something that I would really talk about. Second of all, I actually currently in medical school, I'm a part of Shelter Clinic, which is a clinic, and we're trying to pioneer a new medical program service in a homeless shelter. And that's near kind of Market Street, near Union Square area. And that's something that I want to continue to, that's actually a part of something that I'm really interested in, just nutrition advocacy and helping people who are underserved. And I think to the mayor, I would also say to really promote more acceptance towards people who are homeless, because there's a lot of prejudice and stigma towards people who are experiencing homelessness, and really drives even more cases because people don't want to hire them. People don't want to provide them a job. People don't want to address provide more affordable housing. They don't want to see, buildings in their neighborhoods that are for the people who are homeless. So I would tell the mayor that the stigma we really need to address in order to help the people who are experiencing homelessness. And the third thing I would talk about is definitely the environment and global warming. I think it's something that we all need to address. And I know with like more electrical vehicles, that's absolutely definitely beneficial to the environment, but there are also definitely other resources that we can utilize, because I believe that making electrical vehicles that also utilizes oil and gas, and that can also contribute to global warming. So if we can, I guess that's kind of, I'm circling back, which is if we can create better public transportation, that really helps with the climate change issue that we're facing today.
Have dinner with one person, who that person be? What would you want to discuss? And what would you
What would I be eating? Okay. I love that question. I would want to have dinner with my mom when she was younger. So hopefully that question allows me to time travel back a little bit. Because as an immigrant herself, I think her goal was always to come to the US and provide a better future for her children. But I always wanted to get to talk to her younger self and see what were her aspirations back then, other than, coming to the US and creating a better future for children. She had her friends, her social circles, the things that she enjoyed as well. And I think it would just be such a unique and bonding experience. And I would get to even know her a lot more. And that would really help me with the cultural and generational gap that we have as well. And one thing that we would be eating for sure would be my grandpa's homemade wontons, because every year when we would go back to Shanghai during the summer, we would land at the airport, hop off, and an hour later I'd be at my grandparents' place, and she would always prepare a warm bowl of homemade wontons. And I think it would be a pleasure to share that with my mother when she was younger. Yeah. Thank you so much for all your questions today. I had such a
Bay Area is pretty diverse anyway, but
Yes. Yes. So my dad is white and his ancestors originated mostly from Austria, and my mom is Chinese. It was very interesting growing up biracial with two different cultures, especially because they're so different in their values. For example, one thing I really love about the Chinese culture is that we really learn to respect our elders and we always serve others first. In the white culture, I never really experienced that. However, on my white side, I feel like they were more empathetic and more understanding and more emotionally available for me to talk to, whereas I really couldn't connect that much with my strict Asian mom. Thank you. I love this question. I believe that I'm a really great role model for adolescents. And one of the examples is kind of related to my social platform. My social platform is about supporting those struggling with eating disorders, specifically adolescents, because research shows that that's where most eating disorders stem from, is from like familial problems. Working as a facilitator at the Body Project for the National Eating Disorder Association, I've gotten a lot of time to work and talk to high school girls who are struggling with their body image. And through that, I feel like I'm making an impact in the community, because a lot of women and men feel like their body is just not good enough. So that is where I think I stand in the community. Right now I'm 22. So some advice I would give myself when I was 17 is to not compare yourself to other people. I did one of my first pageants around then. And when I compared myself to the other girls, I always noticed that, oh, I was a little too fat, or their walk was better than me, or they looked prettier. And that really had a negative impact on my mental health. So I think the thing that I would tell myself is to not compare yourself to other people.
So imagine yourself Asian Austrian, how would you use that celebrity platform to
That's a great question. I would definitely want to reach out and do a lot of community service. One of them is the Little Princess program that hopefully we're going to have at Miss Asian Global soon, which I want to start. We are hoping to introduce little girls into pageantry, but most of all to help build their confidence from a young age. Again, that's sort of related to my social platform about having that confidence in yourself and knowing that you are just as good as everybody else. If I were Taylor Swift, I would definitely have a concert like the one she is having now and go around and inspire other little girls. I think a really good way I could do that would be to have like a fashion show and have them come on with me and walk. Right now, I'm living in Davis, California, because I just graduated from UC Davis in biological psychology, but I'm originally from San Jose, California. Thank you. Great question. One of the biggest issues right now in Davis is the homeless population. Homeless population has really increased in the last couple of years that I've been at UC Davis, and it makes the streets a little unsafe, especially because most of the town is full of students. And so one of the issues that I would tackle is definitely homelessness. Another one I would tackle is mental health resources. While Davis is absolutely fantastic with mental health resources, I think that San Jose could definitely improve. Growing up in San Jose, I feel like I didn't really have that support there in my community, and I would just love to add that support. The third thing that I would do as mayor is to have more community events. That's one thing that I love a lot about Davis is that everybody feels like a big family there. And that's what I want to do in San Jose. Thank you. I think my generation is using artificial intelligence in everyday life. They're really incorporating and adapting to the increase in artificial intelligence. Personally, I'm a little scared of artificial intelligence. Being pre-med, I feel like artificial intelligence could take over a lot of jobs like radiology. However, most of all, I think our generation is really keen on using artificial intelligence to the best of their ability. I am pre-med, yes.
As you know, there are medical disparities.
That's a great question. I've actually done a lot of research on medical disparities. I know that African women, especially, the doctors don't really listen to what they have to say, and instead they just prescribe them pills, not really understanding where they're coming from. Something I would do is definitely incorporate more resources into medical school. I think it's very important for them to learn that there are these medical disparities. And once they know that these biases are there, they're able to adapt and hopefully pay more attention to everybody as a whole. My dream vacation is definitely New Zealand. I want to roll down one of those hills and one of those giant falls. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so I grew up in Irvine, California, and Irvine, I know, is one of the safest cities in the US. So I'm very grateful to have grown up there. But at the same time, I did have a very tumultuous childhood, and that's something that I think is very important to know about me. There was a lot of domestic violence in the home. There was also a lot of child abuse in the home, and those things are things that I've had to really heal from as an adult and be very intentional about seeking out resources for. But I think that's what has made me into a very resilient adult at the same time. I wanted to do this pageant because growing up in those circumstances, it made it very the level of self-esteem. And so confidence was something that I struggled with so terribly throughout my life. And about to start medical school. I also just quit my job. So I have this time and I'm never going to have this moment again, to really go out of my comfort zone and pursue something that I otherwise wouldn't have done. So that is why I came to join this pageant, because I do want to build my confidence.
Thank you, Jen, for story. So as a young Asian woman, what hurdles do you feel a young Asian woman in your generation face?
For Asian women, I think there are lots of expectations that other populations may not face to the same extent. So we have the bamboo ceiling, we also have the glass ceiling. And so in the workforce, we're a woman, so it's harder to get into executive levels. We're also expected to have more traditional values, so be a mother and also be a good wife. And so in order to reconcile those two often clashing things, I think we need to work very, very, very hard in order to meet both of those expectations and then have time for ourselves as well.
So, Irvine, to your point, one of the
Mhm.
yes. But if you were the mayor,
Mhm.
you challenge.
Number one, I would say there is a level of racism in Irvine. Nobody wants to talk about it because it's such a cookie cutter, beautiful city, but there's a lot of privilege and there's a lot of people who think certain things that are not necessarily true. In Irvine, you see mostly Asian people and you see white people. There are very few people of color. And I think when we raise children in homes that have certain ideologies like this, that leaks into how we interact with other people later on. So that is another challenge. I also think growing up in Irvine and going to the school district, the sex ed was horrible. It really was. You didn't learn anything. It was very kind of hush hush. And that I had to learn all of that stuff in college. My mom was pretty conservative and she didn't have those conversations with me. And I think if I were the mayor of Irvine, I would want to implement more of that into the education system. I think lastly, I would want to encourage the students to do things that are not only academic, but also things that are extracurricular that they do because they enjoy, not because mom said to do violin or dad said to play soccer. There's a lot of people who are doing extracurriculars in Irvine that they're not necessarily passionate about. Academics are important, but I would strongly encourage the students to pursue something that is interesting to them as well.
You mentioned that you're going
Mhm. I'm about to start in September. Okay. For the profession, as a profession, I would say the level of burnout, it really is hard to maintain a work-life balance in medicine, especially as a woman. I want to be a mom someday, and I don't want to be an absent mother. I want to be there. I also want to pursue surgery. And so those are things that I think about all the time. How am I going to be someone who is family-oriented and also strive in my career? So I think work-life balance is something that is extremely challenging, and that is why physicians and nurses are so burnt out all the time.
Someone who reached out to support you, mentor you, and if so, what did you learn and how did that help you?
Honestly, nobody. I didn't really have a trusted adult. And, sometimes you do have to wonder, is it better to tell an adult and potentially be taken away from your home? Or is it better to keep it silent and just get through it the best that you can? And I actually didn't open up to many people. I didn't feel safe with them, first of all. And second of all, I was worried what was going to happen if I did speak up. And so that is somebody that I would actually want to be for. I am good at recognizing signs of abuse. And so I think as a doctor, I would be in a wonderful position to be able to help somebody that was in my shoes. I would say, please slow down and calm down and everything will be okay. that is I always think that it's the end of the world when I don't do X, Y, Z. I see my life very linearly. That's something that I've been trying to change and I'm very aware of. But that's the mentality I grew up with, and it is very hard to unlearn that. So if I could fast forward and talk to myself now, I would say it's become a surgeon. It's okay if you don't want to do medicine at all. It's really okay whatever path you choose, and you just have to do what is right for you without worrying about what others may think.
Can you share with us your favorite artist and what draws you to it?
My favorite artist would have to be Taylor Swift. I just think her music is really good, and people they get on her a little bit because she sings about the same type of subject, but I think it's very relatable as a young girl who is trying to navigate the dating scene. Thank you so much for your interview. I really appreciate talking to you.
With your dog, how can you help other people with the relationship that you seem to have with your dog?
Thank you so much. And my first fun fact, that's actually not my dog. So, but it's cool to let you all get to know me a little bit more. I am a big dog lover. I was actually volunteering at the Human Society throughout my whole college time, but then I never got my own dog because I feel it's just lots of responsibility. I do not want to do it unless I'm fully ready. And because working at the Human Society, I saw so many people adopt a dog. 20 days later, the dog is back. I just do not want to be one of them. And so what I choose to do is to voluntarily dog sitting for my friends. That's my biggest hobby during the COVID because lots of my friends, they are actually healthcare workers. While I'm working from home, they have to go on site every day. So what I do is like, I will pick up their dog in the morning. We're actually neighbors, and then I'll take care of the dog, work from home with the little dog, and then take the dog for a walk at the ferry building. And so that's the dog. Her name is Joni. She's very popular around my neighborhood.
How would you use your title crown to help you?
Thank you so much for that question. So that's actually related to my social platform. My social platform is to really encourage Asian females to voice out at their workplace. And because that really resonates me with my experience over the past couple of years. I was actually born and raised in China, so I'm not from here. I came to the US for college all by myself. Then ever since that, 10 years, I live in 5 different cities across Asia and US. I've also had 3 different careers. I started off as a financial analyst with the leading investment bank Goldman Sachs. And right now, I'm a strategic finance lead working at Google. And my newest identity is a restaurant co-owner here in San Francisco. So I've always been in those really male-dominated industries. I really just want to use my experience to encourage all those young Asian females to go out there, like explore the world and pursue your dreams, even if that's a really male-dominated industry, like what I've been doing all the time, and dream more and become more. Sorry, I'm very passionate as I'm talking about it. And what I've been doing, and I really want to continue doing with the Miss Asian Global, is to outreach, proactively put ourselves, our delegates, we're across all different industries, reach out to those high schoolers, like go from underrepresented groups, go from immigrants family, like I am a 1st generation immigrant myself, to they may not have the best resources to succeed right now, but I want to show them there are big sisters here. We're here to help you. If we can do it, you can do it. So that's really something that what I really want to do. And also I've did some like small trials, and the tracking record has been good so far.
Vanessa, thank you for being here. You've seen the news on Hawaii recently, and based on your assessment of what you've seen so far, what do you think could have been done differently to save more lives, save the city, or
Maui. Yeah, I believe we're talking about the hurricane that happened recently, right? Because I was also talking to my friends who are actually going to travel to Hawaii, and also we have some delegates flying from Hawaii. I also lived in Singapore before. So all those tropical islands, like they really suffer from global warming, environmental issues. And that's really something, the easiest thing that we can do. Like, for example, when you shop from Amazon, choose less boxes, save more trips. Or like, for example, like use like scooters, take shuttles, don't drive your car. There are so many things that we can do. That's really the number one thing. We can just start from small. We can be part of that to the earth.
Vanessa, tell me about combining being an entrepreneur with your 9 to 5. How does that?
Caroline, that's hard. I have to be honest, it's very hard. Yes, I have a full-time job, restaurant business owner. I'm running a pageant. I also have a long distance relationship. So I have lots of things to balance. And so one thing I learned is to make good use of the small pieces of time. Like, for example, when I'm commuting, I'm on the shuttle to my South Bay office, I'll listen to the recordings, you know, and of the trainings. And also when I'm like trying to visit my boyfriend, I also like try to practice my workings. And also on my shuttle, I'll like look at newses about how to run a restaurant, stay connected with people in the industry, really start from small, like make the best use of your time. I actually feel like I can do more, like, to be honest. I've been thinking about that recently. And one thing I really believe, Chris, is to make an impact without holding a sense of authority. Because I want to tell people like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. I want to know what you think. Tell me about, like, do you think this is gonna work? If not, why? Because we're all in this together. I personally do not like to just give a direction, like instruction. This is do this. Don't ask me why. That's never going to be the best way to do it. So I think the best way to manage is to make a soft impact without holding a title or authority. That's my style. Oh, thank you. My 3 favorite what?
Restaurants.
Excluding my own restaurant?
Sure.
Yeah. So I would say the first one is Daeho. It's the Korean restaurant in Japantown. I see it, you love it too, right? And my second one is Seven Hills. It's a Russian restaurant. And my last one, if not my own restaurant, I would say it's gonna be Palette Tea House. Dim sum, my favorite one. Yes.
So what's the name of your restaurant?
Pop Pop Champ. I hope you all take this name with you after this interview. And thank you all so much for your question.
What's some advice that some of those about home problems?
Thank you. One of the advices that I would give the leader is collaboration. I think a lot of the times it is because we don't listen to one another and we just focus on our own agenda. However, this is not how the world should work. Even though each countries, they have their own ideology and they run their own rules, there are a lot of things that we could collaborate together. For instance, now with the Russian and the Ukraine war, there's a lot of the problem with food shortages. However, we are not actively trying to solve it. And then we are just focusing on supplying for our own country, for our own people. And I think the way that we can solve that is through collaboration and listening to each other. Thank you. Thank you. I would love to. Hello, my name is Hillary again, and I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I moved to the United States at the age of 18. Then I pursued my college degree at UC Davis with a major in sociology. Through my internship experience at EY and the Hong Kong political party, I decided to go with my passion in finance. So in my senior year, I joined the Finance and Investment Club where I built the foundation of finance. Then I took my first job in LA where I moved there on my own, and then I lived by myself and I became more independent. But at the same time, that job did not align with my aspiration. So I applied to the Wells Fargo Financial and Analyst Program, which I spent 6 months in North Carolina for training. Then I moved back to San Francisco, and now I'm working on their commercial banking, technology, and venture group.
You won the title from
Thank you. First, I want to share a little bit about my social platform. It is about the glass ceilings and the bamboo ceilings that Asian women face. And if I won the title, the first thing that I would do is to inform my employee resource group at Wells Fargo, because they have been really supportive of me being in this pageant. And through them, I believe that they could broadcast to more Asian employees at Wells Fargo and then show them that if I could do it, they can do it too. No matter what age you are, just follow your dream. And that is the first thing that I would do. And also, I believe that I have fundraised enough to get the title of Miss Imagine Talk and attend the conference in January. And through that conference, I want to share my cause and also to share about the problem of Asian women in finance and share this passion of mine.
Part of that has to do with sex
Mhm.
and financial education. How do you deal with that gender wage gap?
One thing that I would suggest people to do, and I do have this problem on my own as well, learning from other colleagues. One thing that I would do is to negotiate with the recruiter. That is also something that we learned from our sponsorship visit at Pinterest yesterday, where they share in this technology company, they also have this problem themselves as well. And what they suggested is through negotiation and also have your manager to vouch for you. You should be able to record what you have done, your achievement, and to share it with your manager. And if you cannot, just negotiate with the recruiter yourself, have your manager to do it for you, and also have to prove to them that you are worth it. Yes, I would love to share about my experience for a job interview. I'm sure everyone here heard of Silicon Valley Bank. Yes, so basically they had a really prestigious program. It's also financial analyst program, and they have a really good starting salary as well. And in order to prepare for that interview, I coffee chatted 15 people in 1 week from junior direct report to the CEO. But then during the final interview, it was a 4 hours long interview, and I kind of screw up a little bit by asking for feedback during the interview. And then right after that, I knew that there might be something that I could work on, and I did not get that job at the end, which now thinking about it might be a good thing. But yes, but what I learned from that challenge is that you should always prepare yourself, but don't over prepare, and also be resilient, because nothing is a wasted effort. I definitely learned a lot from that experience to be more resilient and to always believe in myself as well.
When you moved here from Hong Kong,
Yeah.
what was the biggest shock?
Biggest.
Start living in the US.
Oh, definitely. The biggest shock is that I think people here would accept everyone in their own form and shape, and they're very inclusive in the United States. But compared to Hong Kong, they have a really high and narrow beauty standard where you have to be like this thin to consider pretty. But growing up, I have always been like the bigger person in Hong Kong, and that actually did a lot damages to my self-image. And I also want to share some experience that I actually went obese in my sophomore year when I was in UC Davis because of my emotions and also medication that I was on. But here, no one treated me differently. They still treated me as friends. But when I visit Hong Kong, they all made comments on the body change that I was. And then also, wow, you got bigger. They all said comments like that. So I definitely have a shocking experience of how inclusive people here are. Like, yeah.
We have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If you had nothing to do tomorrow, what would that day look like?
That day would start by me playing with my cat because because now I'm living in the hotel and I cannot reach my cat at all. And then I would start building my Lego set. It's Back to the Future set, which I've been putting it aside for a very long time for the pageant. And I think I would just spend my entire day there. Thank you everyone for the questions.
Hi, a little bit about myself. I am Cambodian American.
And growing up, it was really hard for me to learn about my culture and what it meant to be Cambodian. And the reason is because my parents were born in Cambodia. And unfortunately, about 40 years ago, there was a genocide. And so coming to America, it was really hard for them to share their experiences in Cambodia and share their culture. And so I grew up not really knowing anything too much. And once I graduated college, I went on a solo mission trip, on a medical mission trip. And it was there that I put myself out there. I went to a genocide museum. I shadowed doctors. I met patients in different communities. And I saw these disparities that existed in the communities and how they carried over with those in my parents' generation in America. And this whole story really inspired me to pursue medicine. I'm currently a medical school applicant. I hope to become a medical school professor. I think it's really, really important to change medical school curriculum to be more culturally inclusive, thinking about the immigrants, the cultural impacts, maybe expanding the food group to be more inclusive to Asian food. Maybe like I want to see bok choy or kimchi because I feel like those are really healthy too. So that's what I'm doing now. And there's actually two reasons why I joined Miss Asian Global. The first reason is because I want to be a more confident person. I volunteer in a lot of nonprofits, whether it's in clinics in Tijuana or volunteering at homeless shelters. Whether it's patients or those who are homeless, they're very vulnerable and often embarrassed. And as someone who's also shy and reserved herself, I felt that it was really important for me to be confident, put myself out there, and know that I am someone that they can reach out to, that they can talk to me, and I am there to genuinely support them. And I wanted to be this type of confident person and leader in my community. And so, yeah, I wanted to become a more confident person and carry it over to my professional career. The second reason is because I just want to learn about what it means to be Cambodian. Representing the Cambodian community is a really big deal for me. My favorite part of the competition so far is the cultural attire. I learned how to wear the cultural attire for the first time. I learned how to dance. I learned about the symbols. My costume is all about the lotus flower, and it's all about resilience and rebirth. And that's what the Cambodian community is right now. If I heal, then my parents are healing. And yeah, so those are the two reasons why I'm at Miss Asian Global today. Thank you. I think the greatest challenge in the healthcare field right now is being able to tether the needs of the people in our community. Our country is incredibly diverse. Everyone has different experiences, different backgrounds. And I think that patients bringing them up themselves can be like we can help them a lot more effectively. Clinics, about a quarter of the population are actually American deportees, and so they don't have health insurance, and they just often don't seek health help. So one example is one of the patients wanted to undergo a transgender procedure. They were born male and they wanted to become female, but because they didn't have money, they injected acid through their breasts to achieve that more feminine appearance. So if they knew about the public health resources, if they had the insurance, if the doctors are more culturally aware about these things, then we could help them a lot better and we could prevent this type of situation. So yeah.
So you volunteer at clinics on the Mexican border, so you know what's going on there. What would you advise clinical advisors to do?
That's a really good question. I think at the Crisis at the Border, it's good to help those who are healthcare wise. It's very important. It's a very important necessity for everyone to have. I think we should have healthcare available to these individuals and care for everyone as if they were a citizen like ourselves. I'd say the greatest struggle I've overcome is being able to take criticism. I actually grew up at my parents' Chinese food restaurant, And since I was very young, I was working the front cashier, I was a waiter, and I handled a lot of the funds. But that also meant as a kid, like I made so many mistakes. I received criticism from my coworkers. I would often upset customers, and most of all, I would upset my parents because the foundation of our, like where we get money for our home, how we pay for college, all depends on this restaurant. So we really don't want to make the customers unhappy. And I learned to accept this criticism and use it as a tool to improve. Accept the criticism, learn from it, grow, and like make our customers happy, accept it, and move on, become a better, stronger person.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges facing your generation?
I'd say the biggest challenge facing the generation is social media. I think that social media is a great way for everyone to express themselves, just like there were newspapers. With the media, everyone can express their different experiences and opinions on different things, but it's also made us susceptible to polarizing ideas. And I think while there are really great options to learn about these different mentality. So I think if there was a way to have all outlets of information available, then everyone could have a more informed idea and decisions about current news, events, or anything that they're interested in.
If you had the chance to date, who would that person be, and how would you imagine that would be?
I guess I'll date Donald Trump for fun because I'm very curious about the way he thinks. Thank you.
Right. First of all, it's a great honor to meet you all the first time today. My name is Win Win. That's how everybody call me. I'm 29 years old, and I migrated from Vietnam to America when I was only 13. At the time when we moved to America, my parents only have $20 in their pocket. And because of that, I feel like I become an example of an American dream. I came to America, I have a lot of opportunity to grow, to learn about myself, and get higher education degrees. And recently, I got a job that I really like, which is working for the government as a contractor. And in the future, I want to continue to grow in that career and continue to promote my platform, which is mental health awareness. And I joined the Miss Asian Global Pageant because I feel like it's gonna give me a lot of opportunity to learn, to grow. There's 3 aspects that I look into when I joined the Miss Asian Global, and the first thing would be community, because I get to make friends with my beautiful pageant sister. I get great advice from all the mentors here, and I get to develop myself professionally and personally, where I improve my interview and public speaking skill. And I get the opportunity to network with different people and be a better version of myself. So that is why.
You had a chance to meet someone and have dinner with one person. Who would that be? And what would you want to discuss with them?
So if I would have a chance to meet with somebody, either dead or alive, I would meet with Deshauna Barber. She is Miss USA 2016. The reason why I want to meet her because she has a personality that's just like me. She's very determined. She set her mind into something and she will get it done. And so if I have a chance to speak with her, I would speak about my goal. Would talk to her about my pageant journey, about how I'm going to continue to develop myself and what I'm going to be doing in the future, just like she did. I actually wanted to become an inspirational speaker, which is what she is right now. And I want to ask her for tips on how to do that because I want to be able to help other people later in life.
I'm wondering if there was culture shock when you moved to America, and if that is part of what you talk about in your bio about being in a dark place. How did you get through that?
So when I first came to America, I did not speak any English. So that is the first major thing I have to overcome. I did not understand anything people say. I went to school. I feel really bad. I feel really sad because I feel like I was behind because I set high standard for myself. But overcoming that, basically by telling myself that I can do it. I'm being very positive with myself and I say, let's stop all this negative talk about myself and let's keep going because there's people out there that gonna help me. If I'm willing to accept help, they will help me. And that's how I do, that's how I overcome my fear and have courage to continue what I'm doing. At the same time, I was feeling depressed. I was feeling anxious because I feel like I'm not doing enough, but I am doing enough. And I learned that later in life, step by step. And I learned to be patient with myself. And that's how I overcome all the obstacles. And that's why I'm here.
What's the message you feel like this next generation proposes, and how would you provide that?
Are you talking about mental health topic? Okay, so my platform is on mental health awareness. And if there would be an advice that I would give to the young generation, I would tell them it is okay to not be okay sometimes. And there's resources out there, there's help out there that you could use to help yourself. And believe in yourself, be confident, get rid of all the negative thought, and continue, set goal for yourself and keep going. That's how you're going to improve. That's how you're going to get better. You've got to get out yourself out there, step out your comfort zone and do it. Because I am an example of that. I moved all the way to Germany by myself and I work as a government contractor right now. And I overcome all those feeling or the negative talk about myself and I did it. And I'm very happy in the place I am right now. So if I can do it, other people can do it as well.
Back to yourself, what advice would that be?
Myself, you mean? So if I look back in the past, one advice that I would give to that person would be to be more patient. Because at the time, I didn't have any patience. Everything was rushing. I feel like I gotta go, go, go. I gotta get it. But I realized that it takes time. It takes time. Everything takes time. And to be better, you gotta work on it. And you have to set goal for yourself. And that's what I did. I take a step back. I slow down. And I become successful. Obviously, I get a job as a government contractor. That's saying something, right?
What kind of tips or advice would you give a young girl that's not as confident as you? Instead of think about it, go out there. What kind of tips? What kind of really good advice would you give?
So I think one tip that I would give to the young girl would be to find out what you are good at. That's the first thing you gotta figure it out before you can be confident. So if you're able to figure out what you're good at, either writing, speaking, or dancing, singing, whatever you're good at, polish on that skill. That's how the self-confidence will come. And it naturally will come. That's what happened to me. I realized that I'm very good at listening to people. And I did it. I listened to people and I was able to help them. Not only I helped myself, make myself happy, but I was able to help other people. So if there's one tip I would give to the young girl, I would say, find out what you are good at. Thank you for your time today.
Right. First and foremost, thank you everyone for being here today. I'm so honored to be here with you. So a little bit about myself. When I enrolled in this pageant, I was so nervous for the tell me about yourself question. And actually, I thought I had the perfect answer. But since then, so many things have changed. And I really have Miss Asian Global to thank for that. There have been so many positive changes. When I first decided to compete, I was living in Scottsdale, Arizona. I had a thriving business in the beauty industry, but I was in a really toxic relationship that I just didn't have the courage to leave. I was able to find my voice with Miss Asian Global, and I was able to advocate for myself and leave that situation. I'd like to share with you today that I did move back to Los Angeles. Of course, I ended that relationship. And one thing, though, that is fortunate was I had to close down my business. And I was really nervous about telling this to the staff, but I chose to do that yesterday, and I'm sharing that with you today as well. I've always been an entrepreneur though, and I'm now pursuing an Airbnb venture. I think everything happens for a reason, because given the freedom to travel as I did when I was younger, I'm still able to support my mom and volunteer with Dress for Success. My reasoning for competing in this pageant originally was to celebrate my culture. I'm biracial, and come naturally to me, and I really wanted to make up for the years that I didn't celebrate being Chinese. But it's become so much more than that, and I'm so grateful to be here and all the work that Miss Asia Global has put into me. So that's, yeah. 3 of my weaknesses, I think, would be self-doubt. I definitely have a negative self-talk sometimes, and I can be very shy. I can be very flustered when it comes to public speaking, which is something I've been trying to overcome through this journey. So those would be my weaknesses. I would love to meet Audrey Hepburn. She is an icon, someone I've always looked up to. I find her movies very comforting. And I know she's also a humanitarian, and she really cared for the world. So I would like to talk about some of those things with her, what she felt like was the most valuable thing that she was able to contribute to the world. And I would like to learn how I could do the same. So I'd love to meet Audrey Hepburn and have dinner with her. I would say technology. With the negative self-talk that I mentioned, it's so easy to compare your weaknesses with somebody else's strength on social media. And I think that is quite an unfair comparison. And a lot of us fall victim to it, even subconsciously, without even, knowing that we're comparing ourselves. So, and I see that a lot with women in my generation. So I'd say that the biggest challenge is technology. Yes. So I started the business because I learned how to do eyelashes, and it was so difficult to do. I mean, I couldn't even get a single eyelash on during my training class at first, and I thought I wanted to give up. But I went home and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced, and I was able to do really beautiful eyelashes. And so the biggest lesson that I learned from that was to never give up. If you want to do something, you keep at it, and at some point, you'll see the success of your hard work.
I don't know if anybody's told you, but this picture right here, that was Kim Kardashian.
I've heard that.
So what role models?
First, I'll let my makeup artist know, because he'd find that funny. But I think that it's hard to say, it is hard to look at Kim Kardashian as a role model. I wouldn't recommend that young women do that. She seems to be a woman that's had, some challenges in her life. She was a very young girl when she was exposed in that way that we all know. And she's been able to work at her life in such a way where she started a business. She is very successful. While she may not be a role model to young girls, I think it's really admirable what she's done and how she's been able to take that negative experience and really change it and become somebody different. Could you explain that a little more for me? Mhm. First steps in being a role model, I think, would be to share this journey that's been quite difficult. The more that I've spoken to other women and young women too, in their early 20s, even before then, a lot of us have had toxic relationships. We haven't really had a good sense of self-worth. And I think that speaking up for yourself is really important. So by sharing that story, I really hope to inspire young women to never settle for less and to always know their value. For fun, I love to read. I enjoy reading self-help books. I love You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. I have my hotel room. Healthy. I love Pilates. It kind of gets my mind off things when I'm stressed. So yeah, those are the things I like to do for fun. I consider myself a feminist. I think a feminist advocates for women. And as you know, I mentioned before, and the difficult challenges I've overcome, I see myself advocating for other women going through that and speaking up for themselves. So I would consider myself a feminist.
My name is Ish Gupta. I'm 23 years old. I was born in Mumbai, India. And a fun fact about me, my name was actually short for Ishita, which is a mix of my mom and my dad's names. I have been competing in pageants for about 2 years. I started competing because there weren't really that many women who looked like me competing. And I really wanted that representation in pageantry. So I competed in some America, some USA, some other systems. So I learned a lot of things from those systems. And then when I discovered MAG, I was really excited because there's finally a system for me for the diverse individuals, you know? But then when I saw that there was never an Indian winner, I was a little bit skeptical. I was a little scared, but I came back and I thought, you know what? If I don't have that representation, I might as well be that representation.
How would you use this title if you win to help your community?
I would use this title to help my community by first helping the MAG community out with their outreach. I really think that our social media can really improve, and I have a plan in place to post twice a month and do multiple photo shoots a year, which I think will really help bring people's attention into MAG. And also my platform is called Creating Confidence. It's all about mental health awareness and rehabilitating people in their self-efficacy. I think there's a very big importance in transformative leadership. Most leadership styles are very transactional, in my opinion, and you're really expecting someone to give you something back when you give them advice or help. But with transformational leadership, transformative leadership, you are really investing in another person's time and you want to make them better. And so you can bring up those around you, and in turn, that'll help you in the long run. But that's not your intent. Your intent is to help transform the other individual. So if I were to speak with the president, I would 100% talk to him about transformative leadership and why it's important to increase other people's confidence and self-efficacy so that they are the most confident versions of themselves. My favorite artist is Travis Scott. I love Travis Scott's music. I actually was at Lollapalooza before he released Astroworld, and it was the most amazing experience. Everyone's energy was just so hype and excited, and people were literally climbing up on where they have the cameras at Lollapalooza, and people were climbing up there to see him. So I think that that really started my love for Travis Scott, and his music is just very inspirational because he actually has a nonprofit where he helps underserved youth. 100%. I believe that in today's world, social media can be used in a very negative way when it comes to body image, as well as your facial image. I think that that's really important in today's world with influencer culture, because a lot of influencers nowadays are actually getting free Botox, free filler, free cosmetic procedures. And they are going onto their social media sites and acting as if they paid for it themselves, and that it's something that everyone should do. So it's really incentivizing a lot of young people who don't need Botox to go and get it. And it's a neurotoxin. The word toxin is in the name. So I'm not sure how safe it would be. And then when it comes to the positive aspects, I really think that pageantry is a really positive aspect of social media because it is such a tight-knit culture. And with Instagram, especially, when you go live, it shows all of the pageant people that you're live. So you can do a live and really share your story, and it targets those individuals who really look at your stuff. So that really helps with getting your message across to the right people. I live in San Jose, but I work in San Francisco. Oh my gosh. So first of all, of course, the homelessness problem in San Francisco is huge. And something that I do to address this problem is I actually volunteer at St. Anthony's Foundation, which services the Tenderloin, which is the most disparaged part of San Francisco at this current moment. And so seeing those people who honestly live like on the street underneath my apartment and being able to help them makes me feel so much safer in my community because I know that they're people too, and that's really important to me. So as mayor, I would definitely focus on the homeless community. On top of that, I think mental health is a huge problem in the homeless community and for others. So mental health is something I would also focus on. And a third thing that I would focus on is definitely the drug problem in San Francisco. And in the US in general, fentanyl is a huge problem, and it's laced in many drugs that people are consuming willingly or unwillingly. And it's really, really dangerous. And there are even people walking around, like they're called walking zombies. And it's really, really sad to see. So I would definitely help try to solve the drug problem.
You mentioned a lot of issues that are faced. What do you think is kind of the greatest challenge?
I think going back to health, facing our generation, personally, I've struggled with anxiety and depression my entire life. I had my first panic attack when I was 4 years old, and it really affected me until I was in college, and I finally got to seek the treatment that I needed. And the reason why I waited so long was obviously because I have an Asian immigrant family, and that's not something that we talk about. Mental health is not something that we really see as a real issue because it's invisible. And so I think mental health should be definitely talked about more, and we should be advocating for treatment as soon as possible. Thank you. Pageantry brings me myself, and I get confidence every time. Thank you so much for your time today.
So my name is Mafred Pathamat Samanvivat. I was born and raised in Thailand. I graduated with a Bachelor of Nursing back in 2016 in Thailand. The reason that I want to be in nursing industry because when I was 9 years old, my dad got shot and my uncle got caught in car bomb. That inspired me to be an ER nurse. I moved to the United States when I was 24. And because of that reason, I was diagnosed cardiac arrhythmia. I was afraid to die. So I want to pursue my dream as a registered nurse. And I finally made it living in my dream country. The reason that I get in this pageant because I want to make new friends, meet new young professional women because I'm here lonely. I don't have any new friends. So if I get the title, I would use my voice to educate people in rural remote area about the chronic diseases such as stroke and MI, because these diseases can be prevented if we take care of ourselves, sleep and eat healthy, no junk food, no smoke, no drinking. That disease will have like maybe only 0.1% of chance. So one of the most challenges in this pageant, I'm not a native speaker. So English is my second language. I use my time, I study every day about English, at least 30 minutes. And I break that table. And right now I improve a lot because of my pageant sister and my mentors that help me a lot. Yes, I'm living in San Francisco. The culture shock. So one of the culture shock here, I would like to say about the tips, because back in Thailand, we don't really have this culture. And my first time when I went to the restaurant, I didn't give tip to them, and they look a little bit mad. And I asked my American friends, that like, why they act like pretty mad, and they explain to me like, oh, you have to give tips to them because it's our culture. So I learned from that, and next time I keep giving tips to them.
When it comes to social media, what are the good things and the bad things?
So I believe that social media has positive and negative things. I believe that the young generation should have the specific age to use social media, because if the young age, such as 6 or 7 years old, they would use in the bad way, or no one really explain to them what's going on the social media. So I would like to give the suggestion around 16 years old, because at that time they being teenager and would be more understand about society.
So if you had one person that was
I definitely want to have dinner with Michelle Obama. I'm a big fan of her, and I love her about her campaign called Let's Move. So since I'm in healthcare industry, that Let's Move campaign is about to control the diet in the children to prevent about obesity. And yes, and I believe that if all children have their good diet, not junk food, and they will prevent from obesity. Thank you.
So you went to first school in Thailand.
Yes.
You're still practicing also understand.
Yeah, I just recently just got a California nursing license, in January.
There, being a nurse in Thailand.
So back in Thailand, being a nurse, we have to do everything, including insurance, dealing with a relative, or have to call to deal with another hospital. Like it's all about only in one person. But here they have like very specific thing. Like they have like an IV nurse. We really have like the boundary and have the specific job that they have to do. So I really like it. And here they don't have to overload working. Back in Thailand, I used to work like 70 hours. Yeah, it's like morning, afternoon, evening, nonstop.
So, what are things that you do to bring joy to yourself, and how do you spread it to others?
So what made me bring joy about myself? I love traveling. And when I have time, I try to travel to the new place. I try to invite my friends, and if none of them available, I just solo travel to them. That's the happiness thing in my life. My favorite book, lately I watched the movie. My current movie that I watch is Moana. I like her personality. I like that she's really going out by herself to the offshore, and she really cover everything. And yes, at the end she really did her mission. Unfortunately, I love to settle down my life here. I want to start my family, having a kid here. I would like them to have the best education, because I grew up in Thailand. I lived there for like my 24 years, and I know that I would love to raise my kids in better life. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you.
I am from Orlando, Florida. Not originally. I lived in a lot of places in the US, but my journey to Orlando was really interesting.
It started in Houston, Texas, and I spent a lot of my childhood in Colorado, where I went to school there. I lived with my family. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. And from there, when I decided to study in college, I did a lot of dance on the side. Originally, I wanted to study journalism because I never saw an Asian face on TV. And I was like, I would look good on CNN, I think, maybe. So that's what I decided to study. But during that time, I didn't know that was really what I wanted. And it wasn't until one summer when I was at a dance camp. I taught my first kids workshop, and I had one 8-year-old basically change the course of my career. And she was the reason why I decided to switch into learning how to become a teacher. So I took a leap of faith. And during that time, home was it wasn't all walks in the park. So I decided to take a leap and leave everything that I knew and decided to study at Mills College here in Oakland. And I taught for the last 5 years. And throughout teaching the pandemic, decided to take another leap and be closer to my family who moved to Florida. And so that's how I went over there. And currently now I'm looking to get my master's in STEM, and I'm currently on sabbatical from teaching. Yeah, thank you. I think a piece of advice that I would give to elected leaders is to listen more. I think that in our world right now, we share a lot of differences, and it's really important that people feel heard in their ideas. And when we are able to listen to each other and embrace our differences, I think from there we can think about solutions, because sometimes when we're not heard, it feels like our opinion doesn't matter. And I know what that feels like. So I think that's one piece of advice, is to listen more and to really educate our youth in order for them to be aware of the issues that are happening. So that way, some of these issues can be prevented. I am. I think older sibling syndrome is a real thing. My 2 younger sisters, I felt like I had to grow up really fast because my parents, I didn't grow up in a traditional family household where parents stayed together. They actually split when I was really young. And I felt like I kind of had to have a tough skin in front of my sisters to really protect them and show them, hey, it's going to be okay. But that kind of hurt me in the end because I couldn't feel like I could be myself. I couldn't lean on them like I am able to now. So I think my one piece of advice and how I apply that to the world is knowing that I can be human and it's okay to be vulnerable and be my true self. That's really why I joined this pageant as well. This is the second time I'm ever doing a pageant. The first one I did was Miss Vietnam, Florida earlier this year. And during that experience, the biggest lesson I took from that was I wasn't really being my true self. I thought that being part of a pageant, you should look a certain way. You should be this tall. You should not have tattoos. And I actually covered it during that time. But now coming into this pageant, I have never felt so much more comfortable in my own skin. So that's one piece of advice I would give, is to be more comfortable in your skin and to be vulnerable. Thank you.
You had a chance to have dinner with one person alive or past, who would that person be and what would you want to discuss?
If I had to choose one person to have dinner with, it would have to be Michelle Obama. I actually have the same birthday as her, so I do think sometime in my lifetime, I think I should have dinner with her at some point. That'll be my, like my icebreaker. Be like, oh, is your birthday on January 17th? Because mine is too. But I would love to have dinner with her because I think she's one of the most influential women in history, especially as a first lady, and being able to use her platform and empower youth, and especially with an education, that's something I'm super passionate about. So one of her initiatives I was really inspired by was some of the programs that she implemented for nutrition. And that's part of my platform as well. So I would love to be able to bounce ideas off of her and have her as a mentor.
Can you talk a little bit as an Asian woman about either the glass ceiling or the bamboo ceiling and your efforts to try to shatter that and stereotypes?
Yes. One of the challenges that I faced as an Asian American woman myself is breaking stereotypes that I'm good at math. That was one of the biggest things. Growing up, I was never good at math. You know, I didn't pass into the AP calculus class. And I remember sitting and looking at my teacher like, wow, did I just fail everything that I knew? And even when it came to choosing my career path, you know, there's not many Asian faces that were in the media during that time. So something that I did within myself to help me combat that was, or excuse me, to overcome that was understanding why I was doing what I was doing, why I was able to connect with that 8-year-old so much, and the fact that I saw a little bit of myself in her too. So I think many Asian American women struggle with, first of all, seeing themselves in leadership roles, but also seeing themselves outside of the box. I think we were taught to be silenced and to not really use our voice as much because we're not allowed to share our stories or our opinion. But as I've gotten older, and even as a teacher, I've noticed the importance of that. So it's really important to be able to use your voice in your platform. I'm most excited this moment. I'm so excited to meet all of you. So this was awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.